This right here is Suicide Rock. That's what we know it as. If you look at it on a map, it's considered to be Triassic rock. Super old, down under the lake bed. Triassic. What I believe this is the base of an obelisk that has fallen. I'm not going to ask you to look and see things that aren't there, because you can see that right over here would be a piece of it. All of this would be a piece of it. The smoking gun on this is this area right here, where the tip of the obelisk would have hit the top of the canyon. And now we have Triassic rock on the rim of a canyon. And so what this is like warm beach sand on freshly fallen snow. The cave that is pointing due west. This goes and stops right there. Okay. This is right here on Grandeur. Pointing out in this way. It does smell like animal in there, so it's likely that's used for animal. I do say that this mountain is part of a pyramid complex here in North America. I used to think this was just a tail, and that was enough. Mount Olympus serves as our #1 pyramid. Over to the right, you can see where it goes off and makes room for the Sphinx that comes off in a conduit to that right corner. The mountain we're on right now is Grandeur Peak. And as you know, I've said that before it becomes a complex, it's its own complex inside of the single pyramid. And so this right here is the Sphinx, the original Sphinx line for this complex. Now, if you understood what I've just said, I can't just take and arbitrarily put maps over mountains and make it work. This map of the Giza Plateau has 7 points to line up, plus the causeways and the valley temples. What appears to me is that these came down here. And that's why there are these reservoirs here, because God, the modern man came and found these reservoirs already filling with themselves with water from this complex. What's interesting is that when I lay a perfect map, and what these used to be are perfect complexes, they come up short. And that, my friends, is very interesting, especially because they are crossing the fault line, which is basically that road right there. And so what they're telling me is that the fault has slipped a certain amount since these were built. And so I have a way, using the calculated steady slip of the Wasatch Fault, to show and demonstrate just exactly how old a structure up here would have to be to match the specs of what we're looking at. The Sphinx parks itself down on those reservoirs about mid-screen where I am. But as I said, it's coming up 50 meters, about as wide as those reservoirs are. Okay, it's hitting the road. Just barely hitting the road when it should be hitting the reservoir. So that amount of slippage, size of those reservoirs, is the age of the original complex to Grandeur Peak that helped to build Grandeur Peak into the 3rd pyramid of a larger complex. I hope that makes sense, because this larger complex is absolutely massive compared to, say, Giza or something like that. And they didn't just build it all at once. It was built smaller and they built on top of it. This is the piece that It came down off of Grandeur down to those reservoirs. I'm not asking for you to see something that's not there. I'm saying it's a conduit, and it lands, when you put the map over it, it lands right there. And the conduit looked just like that. So we're on our way right now to go and check all this stuff out. There's some people up doing beautiful things. We love that. It's really cool. I wouldn't do that. I have a feeling that in a few months, this place is going to be the snakiest place in town. Look at all those holes. Snakes are coming. Attack me. I'm waking them all up, I'm sure. Well, here it is. Beautiful, magnificent area here. The shelter. This open area. Somehow got my attention today. What happens? Oh God. Is that appears to just keep on going. Way deep in there. And that scares me a little bit because that could be sucking anything in there. So, probably don't like caves. Over here, so that's a deep cave. And that's what we expect. Okay, from what we're looking at here. This continues down and connects to the Dragon's Tail. And I'm not asking you to see something that is not here. Here it is. And I do believe that this is what it was like inside. Absolutely beautiful. And what this did, as you can see, the map takes and puts this channel down right to that. Okay, these are official maps. These are not easy specifications to just fit anywhere. In fact, you can't just fit them anywhere. Okay, that's arbitrary and wrong. This is not going to work. But in these places, it really does work. Really freaked out that a cougar could come and attack, but we're not going to let it where it is. Okay, it's Good Friday, and when we recall the story of Jesus, there's 3 hills, and then he's laid to rest in a tomb. Sort of a cave-ish tomb. Now let me tell you something about tombs back then. They were either natural or they didn't exist, okay? They were either natural or people aren't going to make them, except for the early people who were probably quite responsible. I'm not sure there are such things as natural caves. And so, what I'm saying is if you're going to say, this is where Jesus was buried, I'm going to say, where's the obelisk? Looking back now over our trek today, you know, and just remembering that I saw somebody recently, they took a North American map, they placed it over Europe just like this to show people, see, this is how big Europe is compared to the United States. Okay? We get that. Now that's all I've done here is I've taken 2 maps and we're comparing them together. I haven't messed with either one of these maps. I just like anybody else said, gee, this is this, and what if I test that hypothesis with a map, with the measurements of that area, and you can see what that does. It calls this area a conduit that goes down, yeah, you can see, to this reservoir area. And I don't know, well, I do know why it's cut short. It should be cut short because that has slid away. That's the other side of the Wasatch Fault. It slid away, I think it's 1 millimeter a year. I'm gonna look and check. Now, what we've also noticed is that there's a second conduit where we saw that cave today. And we're gonna go home and we're gonna map and make sure that that's about right, exactly where I think it is, but maybe it's not. There's just no more doubting this. It's just a matter of just sort of honing in on where those points are. And right now, finding out just exactly how old this structure is.